have 7:30 Eastern Time, so I'm going to get started. Hello, everybody. Tonight, we are going to talk about storytelling. So welcome to the Resonating Narratives presentation, crafting stories that inspire and impact. I'm Laura Spear. I am the Rotary Public Image Coordinator, or RPIC, for Zone 32. With me, I have my counterpart, Mary Lou Harrison, who is the RPIC for Zone 28. And we're very fortunate to have members of our team with us tonight. And you'll be hearing from Zone 32, Janet, Mahbub, and Amy. And from Zone 28, Joe, Hadi, and Chennai. So we're going to get started. If you look at the agenda, you're going to find that we're going to talk about elements of storytelling for the next 30 minutes or so. And specifically, we'll address what makes a compelling story that's effective. Where do we start? How do we find our stories? Once we find and then craft our story, how do we share it to get the most impact? We'll then have plenty of time for Q&A, and in the meantime, feel free to put your questions in the chat as we go along. Let's get started. Janet, take it away.
Thank you, Laura. Every Rotary member has a story to tell. Every Rotary member also holds a very unique narrative brimming with experiences and insights that shape the contributions to our community. Your stories not only reflect your personal journeys, but also the collective impact of our shared mission. By telling these tales and sharing them, we celebrate the diversity, we foster connections, and we inspire others to join us. And every Rotary Club has a story to tell, whether it's a small local project or a big global one. These stories show how much we can achieve together, whether through one-time activities or ongoing support. By sharing our journeys, we can inspire others and keep making a difference.
There are 46 people on here.
So, what makes a compelling story? It's when you share your unique voice, drawing from personal Rotary experience or club experience, and describe the impact of the actions taken and the emotions involved. You create a compelling story. This blend of authenticity, personal connections, and emotional depth resonates with others, making the story truly engaging and memorable. Mary Lou, can you tell us a little bit more about telling an effective story?
You bet I can. Thanks, Janet. So next, we're going to spend a little time focusing on how to tell those compelling stories, whether they're from an individual member's perspective or from a club perspective, in the most effective way possible. And to do this, we're enlisting the expertise of some of the fabulous, fabulous people of action from Rotary Zones 28 and 32 Public Image. They're going to share with us tips about understanding audience, making an authentic and emotional connection, one of these heart moments, telling relevant and credible stories, and helping others to engage in and respond to those stories. So here we go. Over to you, Mahbub.
Thank you. It is very important that you understand your audience. It is essential to identify and understand who your audience is before you tell the story. Different audiences respond to different messages. So define your audience beyond demographics, including their familiarity with the topic, cultural background, and language. Get curious. What might prevent them from responding to your message? Understanding all of this allows you to tell a story that resonates with them and makes an emotional connection.
Well, people might forget what you said or what you did to deliver a message, but they will not forget about how you made them feel. And one way to do that is by telling a story, a personal story, hopefully, that touches their emotions. And here we see Jennifer Jones. She is the master of the anecdote. I've never seen her speak where she doesn't tell one, and one that is from the heart and very, very effective. I'm just going to share one very quickly with you. I was a fairly new Rotarian. Our club was sponsoring an athlete in the provincial parasport games, which were being held in a facility called the Abilities Center. This was in Ontario. Her name was Deanna. I'm not sure how old she was. I think she was in her 30s. She was a bocce player. She was in a wheelchair and she could not speak. I presented her with a check for $500 as a sponsor for her travel and training expenses. And what happened next, I just did not expect. She looked at it. Then all of a sudden came this shriek, which I will never forget. And I realized it was because she was happy. Then she typed the words "thank you" on the pad that she had attached to her chair. And I still get chills when I think about that moment. That personal connection that a one Rotarian can make a difference in somebody's lives, in somebody's life. It was very personal and it was very effective. And we all have Rotary stories like that. And please share them.
Tell a focused, relevant, and credible story. It's not just telling an emotional story. It's how you tell it. Keep it simple. Use clear, straightforward language and keep your story focused on a single message. Keep it relevant. The best stories are relevant to the audience and demonstrate how you or your club can solve a problem they face. Finally, use data, citing facts and a few relevant statistics to support your story shows your credibility.
Now you have all the information and you want to be able to tell the story, the amazing story of Rotary. But you need to speak when your story is welcome. Effective communication requires an audience that is ready to be receptive to your message. And that also means they have time and are in the right environment for it. People are also more likely to respond to stories where we also share credit for our work. Everyone likes a humble brag, but I think it's also good to talk about our partners. And for example, if you are discussing Rotary's work to eradicate polio, that really big project we're doing, talk about the efforts of members worldwide and how we have worked with our partners rather than representing Rotary as the sole hero. It's more honest, and four-way test, is it the truth? And in the past, many organizations have used words and images that portrayed themselves as having to save other people. This is a damaging stereotype. So when telling stories of impact, let's make sure to include the perspectives of partners and communities we work with wherever we can.
So you've determined who your audience is. You've crafted a story just for them. And you've conveyed your message in a way that they were receptive to. Don't forget the final step. Your story needs a clear call to action that tells people what they should do next. Make your call to action clear and compelling.
Thank you so much. It's great working with this team, and it's great to hear all of these effective ways to storytell. But we have to find that story to tell. What story are we going to share? We want to focus on those that truly embody our values and our mission, that highlight experiences that have had significant impact, whether through personal growth or community transformation. The key is to find a unique story that resonates and engages with the audience, showcasing the diverse and meaningful contributions that we all make in our clubs. Each story, no matter the scale, adds to the rich tapestry of Rotary's spirit and mission. So we're going to have a little fun. Remember when I said in the beginning, Every Rotary member has a story and every club has a story. In order to write a story, we must first choose or find that meaningful experience. So I'm going to ask you if you've got pen and paper close to you, or your cell phone may be close to you where you can write yourself an email and write yourself a story. We're going to do a little activity that helps us in finding stories we can share with each other. So I'm going to put these up on the screen in a minute, and we're going to take 5 minutes. But first, identify 1 or 2 experiences that you've had in Rotary that you value the most. And use one of these prompts, either this is a sentence, one of the most powerful moments I've had in Rotary was when, or perhaps use that our club's service project has changed the local community or the world in certain ways. So we're going to take 5 minutes now, and we're going to take that and think of that experience and use one of those prompts to write a very brief story, a paragraph or less, 100 words, 125 words. And then we will share. If you wish to share your story, put a 1-line description in the chat, and we'll call on a couple of you to share your stories when you're finished. So Laura, are you keeping time?
I
5
am.
minutes.
Time
5
starts
minutes.
now. All right, the 5 minutes are up. We're going to start by sharing a couple of our stories, and we'll begin with Mary Cook. Mary is from the Collegeville Rotary in Pennsylvania. Mary.
Thank you so much. Freedom, independence, democracy, rights. One of the most powerful moments I had in Rotary occurred in September 1992. I was a young mom to 3 daughters, ages 5, 3, and 1, when our first long-term exchange student arrived from the Soviet Union. I was a full-time computer programmer with an hour commute each way. To say I was busy was an understatement. My husband was a new Rotarian in a new Rotary Club in Kennebunkport, Maine. I was asked to be a host mom to Lucy Pokrovskoya, and I said yes. How hard can it be? What is one more child? Freedom, independence, democracy, rights. Every night I helped Lucy with her homework by translating her English words into Russian, and she would then translate them into Ukrainian. I could help her with every subject except American history. Her Russian dictionary did not contain the words freedom, independence, democracy, rights. I could have said no more exchange students. That year was so hard. But September 1992 forever changed my view of democracy. The following July, we sent Lucy home to a brand new country as Ukraine won its independence. Hopefully, she went home with some new vocabulary words in her personal dictionary. My husband and I would go on to host 18 more exchange students over the course of the next 20 years. Lucy and Rotary Youth Exchange forever changed my life, and I hope we changed hers.
Thank you, Mary. Oh, such a wonderful story. Now we're going to call on a couple folks who put into the chat. I'm going to start with Kelly Drew. Kelly, do you mind sharing your story with everybody?
Sure. I had cancer in my 30s, and my daughter was not even 2 years old. We didn't have in our town treatment centers, so I had to travel to at least 3 hours to get to have surgery, and then follow-up treatments was in another town, and that was an hour and a half to 2 hours away. So little did I know, I being a single parent, I didn't really have a lot of support in my immediate family. And the Rotarians in my club just stepped up and they offered to take her to different things, not only to babysit, which I never had a babysitter before. She was always with me. And the reason why was because I had that trepidation of putting her in the hands of somebody I didn't really know. But I knew Rotarians and I knew I could trust them. So she was my life and I gave them my life so I could have my treatments. And I could be comfortable knowing that she was in good hands.
Thank you so much. Very powerful story. And we have one or two more. Joe, do you mind talking about how you witnessed Rotary's powerful global influence firsthand at the Houston Convention? What made it special for you? What was the story?
Sure. Well, first of all, hello everyone. It's nice to see so many friends that I made from Toronto a few months back. My story was, so I was a COVID Rotarian, so I joined Rotary during COVID when we were having Zoom meetings. So I guess it kind of started with a sheltered experience, right? Because, you're limited to what you could do, wearing masks. So a lot of it was very local. Even though I did have some club members I was in the Catskills at the time, that did do some global projects, but I was encouraged, and I was also 29 or right before the age where, you could get that nice discount for being able to go to the RI convention. So I traveled to Houston, and it was a really amazing experience to just meet people from all over the world. Not just kind of learn about all the great projects that are going on, but just to kind of see, especially too, I mean, not to go on too much of a tangent, right? To see kind of where the world is at right now and how there's a lot of, divisiveness and doesn't always feel like people are together. To see that many people together from all over the place, unified, not just in doing, good deeds for the world. But just even hearing them all sing Sweet Caroline together, which is a Rotary favorite there, it seems, was just a really powerful thing. So, yeah, that's my story. And it's tough following in Kelly and Mary's shoes there after that story. So,
Oh, thank you, Joe. That was a great story. And Jackie, let's wrap up with the story. You have put a couple things in the chat, but career mentoring in particular, how does that stand out? What story do you have about that?
Thank you. I'm still choked up over Mary. Well, it was early 2000s, and I was talking to a Rotarian. Her name is Paula Donning. She worked for Citibank. She was a vice president, and then she took a risk and became a superintendent of Benton Harbor School District. And it was a tough job for her because she was a very accomplished executive trying to help a community that needed her. And we got to know each other. We became friends. And she told me about a young man that wanted to get into something creative. And I run an advertising agency. And we had lunch one day, and she told me he's at risk. He probably won't graduate. I think it would really help, she said to me, if you sit down with him and maybe mentor him. And that was when the light bulb came on, quite frankly, when I realized that we're 1.2 million members, and we were 1.2 million, by the way, back then in 2007. But there are so many people in Rotary that could help young people succeed and help build future leaders and invest in tomorrow, quite frankly. And so we started the mentoring program, and it's taken off. It's become global. And it means a lot to just help young people and help them redirect or confirm their dreams while they're in high school. And so making a difference in the lives of young people. And just to wrap that story up about that young man, his name was Jamal Box. He struggled working with me. I bought him a portfolio. I tried to help him get his artwork together, and then he disappeared. And I kept looking in the newspaper thinking he'd get in trouble, quite frankly. He just was at risk, and I just didn't know what was going to happen. And then out of nowhere, one day I get this message from him, And I called the number back and I could hear his mother answer and say, Jamal, your mentor's on the phone. And it just meant so much to me that he thought that much of me. And he had joined the military and he wanted advice on whether or not he should complete the military so he could go to college. And oh, it meant the world. And so making a difference in the life of one young person is what it's all about in Rotary, quite frankly, and we're building the future. So that's my story.
Thank you, Jackie. What a great story. So now Amy's going to tell you how you can share your stories even broader.
Wow, what wonderful and inspiring stories. And here's your call to action. Share your stories. Start by sharing your stories on your within your personal connections and across your platforms. When you share your Rotary stories consistently, it expands our reach and inspires others to join. On the right side of the screen, you'll see just 2 examples of how sharing our Rotary stories can spark interest in joining. One is a Facebook post from a Rotary friend I have in Las Vegas that always is sharing her Rotary adventures. And the other one is from one of my own personal experiences of sharing my Rotary journey. And if you see the comments, both of them have comments engaging people interested in joining Rotary. Also, share your stories at events. If you're hosting a membership event or encouraging club members to donate to the Rotary Foundation, lead with a compelling story. For example, when asking for donations, share how those funds have made a real impact in your community or globally. While the public image chair may handle media outreach, storytelling is everyone's responsibility. Whether you're speaking to potential members, donors, Rotary members, or the wider community, sharing impactful stories connects people to our Rotary vision. And share your Rotary stories with your public image teams so that they can be woven into your club's broader public image strategy. Next slide. Your public image teams, once you have a collection of Rotary stories, the possibilities for how to use and repurpose them in your club's public image efforts are endless. The key is to think creatively about adapting and sharing these narratives across various platforms and formats to keep them dynamic, engaging, and impactful. A single Rotary story can be shared on social media, featured in a newsletter, recorded on video, and shared through social media reels or incorporated into a longer membership promo. For more traditional media, they can be used in press releases, club brochures, or incorporated into a presentation at a local event, or even showcased during your club's anniversary year. By tailoring the story to fit the platform and audience, you ensure that your message reaches a broader audience, whether they're online, in print, or attending an event in person. And you don't need to share a story just once. You can create multiple posts, videos, blog updates around the same core narrative, each time with a different angle. For example, a story about a club's youth exchange program can become a social media post, a full-length blog post, a community news article highlighting the impact and benefits of youth exchange. Repurposing stories ensures that your club's core messages are consistently reinforced. You can feature different aspects of the story each time to highlight those themes and maintain a strong, unified public image. Ultimately, the more creative and strategic you are with your stories, the more they can help build momentum for your club's public image. Storytelling isn't just about telling the world what we're doing. It's about showing them the lasting, meaningful impact your club is making on the local community and beyond, and inviting them to join People of Action. So some tips and best practices. Use Rotary's branding guidelines. Incorporate People of Action visuals. Consistently use your club logo in all materials to reinforce our brand and maintain credibility. You can access your club logo in the Rotary Brand Center. Also, additional resources are there too as well. and incorporate a call to action. Every story you share should encourage your audience to take action. Invite others to join, donate, or participate. Whether it's inviting someone to join your club or encouraging them to support a fundraiser, a clear call to action motivates the audience to engage with our vision. Ensure that every story ends with a clear call to action. Your audience should always know where they can take the next step. Make the call to action easy to follow and compelling. By using Rotary's branding, including a clear call to action, and keeping your stories authentic, you'll inspire others to join our vision and share in the impact we're making. Every story you share is an opportunity to show the world what Rotary is all about. Keep it clear, consistent, and most importantly, true to who we are as people of action. Laura, the floor is yours.
So, in conclusion, go forth and share your personal story and your club stories. As you do so, keep in mind how to make your stories compelling. Tell your stories in a way that appeals to your audience. Focus on the resulting impact, not on what you or your club did, but what the results were. And you can use data to help quantify that impact. Strike at those heartstrings, yet be authentic. Come across as a trusted member of your community and that you truly believe in what you are doing. Above all, try to keep it simple. We don't want to bore our audience with too much information or they may tune out. And lastly, always, always have a call to action. It can be as simple as an email for more information or a pointer to your website or social media page to learn more about your club. The end result is that your stories can inspire your audience and encourage them to be part of the good that we all do. And that kind of concludes our formal presentation. We're now going to open it up. Mary Lou?
All right. Wow. I didn't think that my heart could get fuller, but it is. And thank you all for sharing your stories, for taking the time to be here tonight, right? And to practice telling stories. Some people are natural storytellers, and some people have the best stories, and they need a little practice. So this is a wonderful safe space to do that. And do you know where another safe space to tell stories is? In your club. Ask for someone else's story and have them tell you, because it lets them practice too. Joe, I will tell you, is really good at this. So he likes to ask people what their passion is, and it might be Rotary, it might be something else, but it gets them talking about what's important to them. So some questions. I know that I think Jackie had one in the chat about visual imagery. So Jackie, I'm going to let you expand on that for us a little, and then we'll try to answer that.
Thank you. As a DGE in Mary's class and Bob, a couple other people here, I have been reaching out a lot to clubs and I get feedback, and Nancy Peterson, our public image chair, and I talked about this today, and Chris Lewis, our DGND. And clubs are still stuck on the people at the podium photos. And I just don't know. I would like you to talk about, please, what kind of imagery. I like the smiling faces on this because you guys know what I'm talking about. But I'd like you to talk about what kind of imagery we should have in visuals, please.
All right, I'm gonna maybe let Shania give this a first go, because she was on the public image team. She was embedded with our public image team when Jennifer Jones did her Imagine Canada Rotary Tour. So give us a little something on how we can avoid the podium shot, or add to the podium shot, or in addition to the podium shot.
I think the best question is what do I want people to take away from my description of the event? So you're not reporting, you're actually like telling a story. That would be the difference. So I remember we ended up taking that really fun image, the one from, what was it? one of those rock bands, was it Rolling Stones? We recreated a Rolling Stones image and it was like Rolling Rotarians. But it was because we wanted to make sure that the day was one of fun and connection and community. And I think that's a lot of what we did on that tour. We were just capturing some of the best moments, people laughing, high-fiving. I think we were like cleaning up some places. Rotarians are people of action, right? We have that as a slogan, like do that action shots, like when you're doing something. I'm so excited. We're about to go pick up whatever boxes to go feed people in X place. You know, I think the impact can always be translated in really good images and clips.
Thank you. And I'm gonna add to that, as opposed to just a static photo, why not do a tiny little reel and let the person who's at the podium share why they're excited to be partnering with your Rotary Club or speaking to the members of Rotary or what they value about Rotary. Just something super short, which will bring that to life, right? Check presentations would be the same thing, right? If you're gonna have some words, some action, a little reel about, tell us, so we're presenting this check today and it's for $20,000 to a diabetes center. Maybe you could just tell us one thing this money is going to make happen.
Or better yet, feature the diabetes center, people who are actually benefiting from the donation and what you provided. Rather than handing the check, show the impact and the result.
Absolutely. Joe.
If I can just jump in, sorry.
Please.
I do a, excuse me, a fundraising event every year. It's a big concert for an organization called Feed the Need. And I go to a number of clubs and a number of them give me checks. And I see Dave down there, Rotary District 7070. His club has been very generous and they presented me with a check. And I, of course, you know, out of respect, I mean, I posted that, but I also posted a shot of me in the food warehouse where I volunteer every week. And so I had that in tandem with it. Like, this is where the money's going. So if you can make that effective to show where the money's going, put somebody, even a Rotary member in that spot, then you can make the direct connection.
Amazing. Other questions? I don't see any in the chat, but you might have. Can you call on me? Yes, Janet.
How about that? So we all told stories, and they weren't stories that happened last week. And I bet if you dig in your cell phone, you have a picture that is representative of the story you just told, and pull out that picture and build your story around it. And so that then becomes the photo that can be used as part of the visual that goes along with that story. And the world out there isn't going to necessarily know if that happened today or a year ago. And so I always try to remember, this might be my 10th time telling this story, but it's somebody's first time. So there's probably a picture that goes along with the story you want to tell.
Amazing. Bob, question from you.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm trying to get some feedback and assistance on is, as a coming into the role of governor, we have 74 clubs in our district. We don't have 74 creative people necessarily. And, it varies significantly from club to club. And, creativity to those people who are creative comes easy. My background's engineering. Creativity doesn't come necessarily easy to me. Analytics, but not creativity. And I think one of the things that I struggle with, we just don't seem to have the tools to help the clubs do this stuff. I know the Brand Center is there, but the Brand Center requires you to pull down pieces and put them together. And that for a lot of people is difficult. So
Laura.
I am thrilled to say the Brand Center has a bunch of templates that you don't have to put all the pieces together, including a brand relatively new template for flyers. And that seems to be the big thing that a lot of people struggle with. All you have to do is upload your photo and enter your text, and it creates something, poof, you can have a PDF. It's a beautiful thing. It has a template for a club brochure. You can use the PowerPoint template for presentations. And it's not just the logo template. There's a lot of other things that you can customize, including radio spots, videos. You can add your own club name to it. So there's a lot of stuff in the Brand Center that makes it easy for people who are not professional creative people or designers. So it's really straightforward.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura. Jackie.
So I am a professional marketing person, so I cheat, of course. But the my Rotary Design Center is awesome. And in 15 minutes, I used the trifold template and worked with another club to help them get a professional looking brochure out. And there's a lot of copy language that's really nice. But we had a 1-hour event at a basketball game with those brochures and some banners, of course. We had 15 prospects sign up saying they wanted to know more about Rotary in 1 hour. So the tools are awesome. I encourage everybody to use them.
Right. And I'm going to draw everyone's attention to what Chennai had to say in the chat about partnering with Interact and Rotaract and your children and your grandchildren and your nieces and nephews, right? I am never going to post on TikTok, I'll tell you now, and I don't really need to know. It's just not going to happen. But there are people in my life who do, and that's great, right? We don't all have to have the same skill set, right? So think about engaging those folks. If you're putting together an event, create your event promotion team that's not just promoting the event before the event, but also at the event and after the event, right? And get people with a diversity of skills. And some people will just be delighted to be part of that team and work together. Tell them what you're after. Put together a little, we want shots like this, and let them go for it.
The last I would say is take advantage of national and international days in your area. People will already be talking about something. So when that day is happening, always have an opportunity to pull Rotary in.
Absolutely. And we, being Rotary and having our 7 areas of focus and all of our avenues of service and being people of action, we can link into what's in other people's hearts really easily. We have more in common with the good than we know. Jackie, I'm going to give the last question or comment to you.
Thank you. I actually would like to turn it over to Chris Lewis, our DGND. He's doing an outstanding job doing podcasts, and I'd like him to share, please.
Okay. I didn't know I was going to be called out. So hello, everyone. So podcasting is something that I've been doing for a number of years, and it is a great way to tell stories. I currently have 5 podcasts that I do for many different things, but you can tell stories in so many different ways to be able to bring the voices of people out in front of the story itself. So for example, I have a podcast that I do for my professional job. So in my professional work, I work in graduate school admissions. And as a part of that, I started a podcast talking about graduate school success. And I bring people on that have gone through graduate school. I have them tell their story. What did it take for them to find success in that journey? I have a personal podcast that's about fatherhood. I do similar things there, but you can easily do similar things with podcasting, with video work, and it doesn't have to be highly edited, but if you have the opportunity to sit down, do short form or long form, you can bring those stories out and make the story even more compelling. So there's a whole lot of things that go into doing it, but that's kind of the long and short of it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris. And I would be remiss if I didn't share that Rotary Zones 28 and 32 has its own Talking Rotary podcast. So, Joe, perhaps you'll put that in the chat and give us a highlight of what stories we could hear if we were to listen in. Give us a couple of examples.
Well, something coming up that I hope, I'm actually the guest host, Peter Tong, who is the DG right now of 5550. Hope I got that right. He was too busy and he said, I'm looking for somebody to post it. And I said, sure, I'll do it. Coming up, we have, I don't know if people know them, Valerie and Mark Wafer, who've done tremendous work with disability employment. And among other things, both in their business and in Rotary. There's also an interview with Stephanie Urchik up there, and a woman who I recently interviewed who founded the Toronto Tibetan Rotary Club. She tells the story of her flight, her family's flight from Tibet through India to the States, walking around the streets trying to sell carpets, and coming to Canada, and eventually starting the Toronto Tibetan Rotary Club. And her story ends in Rotary really strongly. But the one thing a lot of these stories have in common is, I'll just go back to the anecdote that was on my slide. I was fortunate enough to get that one. I love anecdotes, and a lot of times they really, if you can work in a moment. I love Jackie's. Is Jackie still here? Or did she leave? Jackie's story was great because there was that moment when she called. She made that phone call, and you could put yourself in that position. And when people start to relate to those stories, so if you're telling a story, try to find a moment and capsulize it because people can really relate to those. And all the people who are on our podcast have those moments. Multiple times.
Amazing.
So.
And Joe, I've put a little plug in the chat for people to send you their stories. So if you would like to share your email, now is your moment. And then Laura, I'm going to pass it back to you and Janet, and thank everyone for coming. But if you have any final words before we say adieu and happy storytelling to everyone here.
I will only say that we will post the recording on the Zones 28 and 32 website. I did download the chat into a text file. And so if you are wanting a copy of the chat, laura@spear.net. And by the way, feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to be on our monthly public image distribution, or if you have questions, burning issues about logos and photography and flyers and any of that, we're here to help. Mary Lou as well. And both our emails are in the chat. So thank you for joining us. And it's nice to see so many of those familiar faces.
Fabulous night. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.